Hello and welcome to today's edition of Focus, where we head to Colombia. The government there has long been on the offensive against FARC rebels, but now they face a new threat, the so-called Bacrims, new armed group seeking to control the country's lucrative drugs trade. They're responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people and for chasing thousands of farmers from their land. Our correspondents Romeo Longois and Simone Bruno have been on their trail.
Another day, another death in Cordoba, Colombia's most violent region. A father has just been murdered on his doorstep.
All this violence is because of drug trafficking and war between rival gangs.
These criminal gangs are known as Bacrims in the Colombian government, short for bandas criminales. They're descended from old paramilitary groups, but their business now is focused on cocaine trafficking. And Cordoba, in the north of Colombia, is exactly the kind of territory they want to control.
This is a very strategic area. We're on the coast, and the mountains where the drugs are produced are just 5 hours away by a road. Anyone could drive here, take a speedboat with a full tank and load it with drugs. An operation like that can take as little as 3 hours. 5 hours later, the speedboat's already in Central America.
Last year, fighting over the control of drug routes claimed the lives of 600 people in Cordoba alone, including innocent civilians. The Zenu tribe of native Indians live in the heart of the conflict zone. 17 of them have been killed for standing up to the criminal gangs.
We live in fear of these terrorists. They're exterminating us one after another. Our people disappear, they kill us, and then bury the bodies in pits or throw them into the river.
To stop the bloodshed, Bogota has deployed 11,000 soldiers and policemen in the region. They take us on patrol in the stronghold of the Urabeños gang, one of Colombia's most notorious Bacrims.
Over there, they must be lookouts.
Colonel Alvarez is a veteran of the battle against drug gangs. He knows he's fighting an invisible mafia, one that's become wealthy enough to infiltrate itself corruptly into every level of society, including law enforcement.
What did these guys tell you?
That they sell wood.
They were joking. I'm sure they're bandits. They looked like gangsters, don't you think?
Captured criminals are frequently displayed like trophies to the press. Today's catch is a contract killer working for Paisa, a Bacrim operating from the city of Medellin. Gangs like these are often made up of former paramilitary soldiers, like these ones in Tierra Alta.
I know you want to study, learn a trade, find a respectable job.
Paramilitary groups have claimed tens of thousands of lives in the name of anti-guerrilla warfare. 5 years ago, they negotiated their demobilization with former President Uribe. But a new generation of militias has since risen, and they're recruiting.
These criminal groups exert a constant pressure on young people. They want younger members because the older ones are fully trained soldiers who know how to use weapons.
Bacrim members aren't the only ones with knowledge of weapons. These young men are members of a street gang. They're used to petty crime and turf wars against rival thugs. They're not into large-scale criminal activity. But for the Bacrim, they provide a cheap and useful workforce.
Money controls everything. If a guy comes and tells you, I'll give you this money to kill someone, well, you can be tempted.
Colombia's a fertile soil for criminal organizations. If the authorities don't stop it soon, the Bacrim culture will grow ever more out of control.
Well, for more, I'm joined on the line from Bogota by one of the authors of that report, Simone Bruno. Hello to you, Simone. Who are these Bacrims exactly? Where do they operate and how many people are involved?
Well, as we've seen in the reportage, apart from the Urabeños and Los Paisas, there are other bands called Black Eagles, Rastrojos, and Army Erpac. I mean, these are all the names of the bands, like the most famous one. And they combine a control of production and smuggling of cocaine with extreme violence. About the number, that's pretty complicated. I mean, nobody can tell exactly how many members integrate this new armed group. In 2006, the police were talking about 4,000 bandits divided into 22 new criminal groups. But the things changed pretty quickly. So recently, in the past, which is a local, pretty important think tank, said that they are counting around 7 main groups, and they are present in around 29 of the 32 departments of the Colombia, so basically all around the country, even if they concentrate in the key routes for drug traffic. Of course, because this is what they control, they tend to control. In the past, also estimate that they are integrated by around 13,000 men, while the government talk about 7,000. Anyhow, this is a huge number if you consider that FARC can count on only 8,000 combatants. And FARC, I mean, we're talking about the most ancient guerrilla in the continent. The truth, anyway, is that it's pretty harsh to guess the exact number. And this is because there is a lack of intelligence, and also because these people are very young, most of them, and they operate in urban context while they still go to school, for example. So it's really complicated to know who they are, how many they are.
Okay, Simone, and to what extent are these groups the descendants of the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia disbanded between 2004 and 2006?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this group exactly emerged from that demobilization, of the demobilization of the AUC, which was the Autodefensa Unidas de Colombia. That was an umbrella paramilitary group that demobilized during that peace process you were talking about. The people, the main thing, the important thing, I think, is that the people that live in the areas where the Bacrims are stronger, they don't perceive any change between the past and the present. And, I mean, if after 6 years since the demobilization, these people still think that it's the same, that nothing has changed, it's probably because nothing has changed. And so what happened is that new narco-paramilitary groups have quickly replaced the AUC in basically everywhere in Colombia. On the other hand, the government considered that these right-wing paramilitary groups had a purpose in the past, which was to fight the FARC, while the Bacrims don't. I mean, they don't have any political speech. Anyway, there are independent studies that show, and as well as legal sentences of the process that has been concluded, that AUC were dedicating 80% of their force of their efforts in drug trafficking, in robbing land, bribing the local politicians, killing social leaders, killing union members. And this is exactly what Bacrims are doing now. So for 80% at least, they are the same.
And who is complicit in all these dirty deeds that you're talking about?
Well, the groups still have a really strong power of infiltration and corruption of any level of Colombian society. There is a difference, because in the past, there was a total complicity with the former paramilitary groups and the local political power, as well as with the army. Now is the first time, or maybe the first time since Pablo Escobar, that there is a genuine willingness, at least in a part of the state, or in the police, to fight these groups. But this, anyway, will not stop them to try to alter the results of the coming elections in 2001, which is exactly what AUC was doing in the past.
Okay, Simone, and very quickly, according to information revealed not so long ago by WikiLeaks, Colombia was aware of the emergence of these new armed groups as early as 2006, 2007. Why wait so long to fight them?
Well, yeah, the demobilization of the AUC was one of the main success of former President Álvaro Uribe. And so he always denied, for this reason, the existence of the new right-wing groups. And that's why they had a chance to grow so quickly, because basically they didn't have anybody facing them. And there were no military, no policemen fighting them. But then we got a point that the violence they generated was so big, so strong, that it was impossible for the new government, I mean the Santos government, to keep on denying the existence of these groups. So at the end, they have been forced to admit that they are the main generators of violence in the country today, which is a big thing, because we are talking about Colombia. And other politicians like Andrés Pastrana, which was the former president before Álvaro Uribe.
Okay, Simone, unfortunately, Simone, I have to stop you there. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. That's it, as I said, for this edition of Focus. You're watching France 24. Do stay tuned.